Hello. We are on page 88 of Tuesdays with Morrie, the 10th edition by Mitch album. This is also an italics portion of the text, except it is not a flashback, but it is a reflection for Mitch. The newspaper near his chair has a photo of a Boston baseball player who is smiling after pitching a shutout. Of all the diseases, I think to myself, Morrie gets one named after an athlete. You remember Lou Gehrig? I ask. I remember him in the stadium saying goodbye. So you remember the famous line? Which one? Come on, Lou Gehrig, pride of the Yankees, the speech that echoes over the loudspeakers? Remind me, Morrie says. Do the speech. Through the open window, I hear the sound of a garbage truck. Although it is hot, Morrie is wearing long sleeves with a blanket over his legs. His skin pale. The disease owns him. I raise my voice and do the Gehrig imitation, where the words bounce off the stadium walls. Today, I feel like the luckiest man on the face of the earth. Morrie closes his eyes and nods slowly. Yeah, well, I didn't say that. The fifth Tuesday, we talk about family, page 90. It was the first week in September, back to school week, and after 35 consecutive autumns, my old professor did not have a class waiting for him on a college campus. Boston was teeming with students, double parked on side streets, unloading trunks, and here was Morrie in his study. It seemed wrong. Like the football players who finally retire and have to face the first Sunday at home, watching on TV thinking, I could still do that. I have learned from dealing with those players that it is best to leave them alone when their old seasons come around. Don't say anything. But then I didn't need to remind Morrie of his dwindling time. For our taped conversations, we had switched from handheld microphones, because it was too difficult now for Morrie to hold anything that long, to the lavalier kind popular with TV news people. You can clip these onto a collar or lapel. Of course, since Morrie only wore soft cotton shirts that hung loosely on his ever-shrinking frame, the microphone sagged and flopped, and I had to reach over and adjust it frequently. Morrie seemed to enjoy this because it brought me closer to him, in hugging range, and his need for physical affection was stronger than ever. When I leaned in, I heard his wheezing breath, his weak coughing, and he smacked his lips softly before he swallowed. Well, my friend, what are we talking about today? How about family? Family. He mulled over it for a moment. Well, you see mine all around me. He nodded to photos on his bookshelves of Morrie as a child with his grandmother, Morrie as a young man with his brother David, Morrie with his wife Charlotte, Morrie with his two sons Rob, a journalist in Tokyo, and John, a computer expert in Boston. I think in light of what we've been talking about all these weeks, family becomes even more important, he said. The fact is, there is no foundation, no secure ground upon which people may stand today if it isn't the family. It's become quite clear to me as I've been sick. If you don't have the support and love and caring concern that you get from a family, you don't have much at all. Love is so supremely important. As our great poet Auden said, love each other or perish. Love each other or perish. I wrote it down. Auden said that? Love each other or perish, Morrie said. It's good. No? And it's so true. Without love, we are birds with broken wings. Say I was divorced, or living alone, or had no children. This disease, what I'm going through, would be so much harder. I'm not sure I could do it. Sure, people would come visit, friends, associates, but it's not the same as having someone who will not leave. It's not the same as having someone whom you know has an eye on you, is watching you the whole time. This is part of what a family is about, not just love, but letting others know there's someone who's watching out for them. It's what I missed so much when my mother died. What I call your spiritual security. Knowing that your family will be there watching out for you. Nothing else will give you that. Not money. Not fame. He shot me a look. Not work. Raising a family was one of those issues on my little list. Things you want to get right before it's too late. I told Morrie about my generation's dilemma with having children, how we often saw them as tying us down, making us into these parent things that we did not want to be. I admitted to some of these emotions myself. Yet when I looked at Morrie, I wondered if I were in his shoes about to die and I had no family, no children, would the emptiness be unbearable? He had raised his 2 sons to be loving and caring, and like Morrie, they were not shy with their affection. Had he so desired, they would have stopped what they were doing to be with their father every minute of his final months, but that was not what he wanted. Do not stop your lives, he told them. Otherwise, this disease will have ruined 3 of us instead of 1. In this way, even as he was dying, he showed respect for his children's worlds. Little wonder that when they sat with him, there was a waterfall of affection. Lots of kisses and jokes and crouching by the side of the bed, holding hands. Whenever people ask me about having children or not having children, I never tell them what to do, Morrie said now, looking at a photo of his oldest son. I simply say, there is no experience like having children. That's all. There is no substitute for it. You cannot do it with a friend. You cannot do it with a lover. If you want the experience of having complete responsibility for another human being and to learn how to love and bond in the deepest way, then you should have children. So you would do it again? I asked. I glanced at the photo. Rob was kissing Morrie on the forehead, and Morrie was laughing with his eyes closed. Would I do it again? He said to me, looking surprised. Mitch, I would not have missed that experience for anything, even though he swallowed and put the picture in his lap. Even though there is a painful price to pay, he said. Because you'll be leaving them. Because I'll be leaving them soon. He pulled his lips together, closed his eyes, and I watched the first teardrop fall down the side of his cheek. And now, he whispered, you talk. Me? Your family. I know about your parents. I met them years ago at graduation. You have a sister too, right? Yes. Older? Yes. Older. And 1 brother, right? Younger? Younger. Like me, Morrie said. I have a younger brother. Like you, I said. He also came to graduation, didn't he? I blinked. And in my mind, I saw us all there, 16 years earlier. The hot sun, the blue robes, squinting as we put our arms around each other and posed for Instamatic photos, someone saying, 1, 2, 3. What is it? Morrie said, noticing my sudden quiet. What's on your mind? Nothing, I said, changing the subject. So this is a good place where you can make a prediction. So one of the things that active readers do is they stop and then they predict what is going to happen next. So take a moment, stop the video, and make a prediction as to what you think will happen next. What are we going to learn about Mitch and his family, and maybe even his brother? Let's see if your prediction is correct. The truth is, I do indeed have a brother, a blonde-haired, hazel-eyed, 2 years younger brother who looked so unlike me or my dark-haired sister that we used to tease him by claiming strangers had left him as a baby on our doorstep. And one day we'd say, "They're coming back to get you." He cried when we said this, but we said it just the same. He grew up the way many youngest children grow up, pampered, adored, and inwardly tortured. He dreamed of being an actor or a singer. He reenacted TV shows at the dinner table, playing every part, his bright smile practically jumping through his lips. I was the good student. He was the bad. I was obedient. He broke the rules. I stayed away from drugs and alcohol. He tried everything you could ingest. He moved to Europe not long after high school, preferring the more casual lifestyle he found there. Yet he remained the family favorite. When he visited home in his wild and funny presence, I often felt stiff and conservative. As different as we were, I reasoned that our fates would shoot in opposite directions once we hit adulthood. I was right in all ways but one. From the day my uncle died, I believed I would suffer a similar death, an untimely disease that would take me out. So I worked at a feverish pace and braced myself for cancer. I could feel its breath. I knew it was coming. I waited for it the way a condemned man waits for the executioner. And I was right. It came, but it missed me. It struck my brother. The same type of cancer as my uncle, the pancreas, a rare form, and so the youngest of our family with the blonde hair and hazel eyes had the chemotherapy, the radiation, his hair fell out, his face went gaunt as a skeleton. It's supposed to be me, I thought. But my brother was not me, and he was not my uncle. He was a fighter, and had been since his youngest days when we wrestled in the basement, and he actually bit through my shoe until I screamed in pain and let him go. And so he fought back. He battled the disease in Spain, where he lived, with the aid of an experimental drug that was not, and is still not, available in the United States. He flew all over Europe for treatments. After 5 years of treatment, the drug appeared to chase the cancer into remission. This was the good news. The bad news was my brother did not want me around, not me or anyone in the family. Much as we tried to call and visit, he held us at bay, insisting this fight was something he needed to do by himself. Months would pass without a word from him. Messages on his answering machine would go without reply. I was ripped with guilt for what I felt I should be doing for him, and fueled with anger for his denying us the right to do it. So once again, I dove into work. I worked because I can control it. I worked because work was sensible and responsive. And each time I would call my brother's apartment in Spain and get the answering machine, him speaking in Spanish, another sign of how far apart we had drifted, I would hang up and work some more. Perhaps this is one reason I was drawn to Morrie. He let me be when my brother would not. Looking back, perhaps Morrie knew this all along. Thanks for joining me today. And I'm really interested in hearing how you connected with Mitch or Morrie today. Have a good evening.